Welcome back to Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast of comicbook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and if you're joining us today, it's because you're here for another bonus round episode of the show, where this week we are once again recapping Star Wars Ahsoka. The recap with no cap. We are going to get into Ahsoka Episode 4, Fallen Jedi, and full spoilers. And joining me today, it's the old school Comic Book Nation crew. What's up, guys? It's Matthew Aguilar.
Hey, everybody.
And Janelle Wheeler.
Hello, hello. I'm wearing my David Tennant shirt, by the way.
Oh, boy. Respect. Yeah, you guys were tiny in the window. I couldn't see you there for a minute. But it's good to see you guys again. It's another Wednesday morning. And that means we have to talk about Star Wars Ahsoka because these things drop Tuesday nights. Here we are. Let's just get into it. Forget the preamble. The people are here to see, what we thought. It's no secret. If you're just joining us this episode for some reason, here's the breakdown. I'm the big Star Wars geek here. Matt is kind of a middling Star Wars geek, and Janelle barely tolerates this stuff, but loves it when it's good and loves her some like Mando and some mainstream stuff. And we've thrown her into some comics and stuff like that. So that's how we're all coming at this if you are just getting into Comic Book Nation now. So, as for me, I was eating in episode 4 of Ahsoka. What is there to say? First of all, Peter Ramsey, director of one of the directors of Into the Spider-Verse, got to do this episode. A little fun behind-the-scenes fact. And I thought he did a great job. I thought more so than anybody, like Ramsey got the assignment of like what Dave Filoni is going for with, by the way, like let's just establish like this is a samurai tale, like a samurai style story. And from the sword play to the way it just kind of played out in this episode to the red forest in which it took place, this felt very like samurai, almost anime kind of style. And I dug it. I thought that, there are some funny things we're going to get into. We got to get into the Marrok of it all and all that stuff. And of course the big finale. But yeah, this was a good singular kind of bottle episode. Of course, it's part of a progression of a storyline. But I thought this was a good bottle episode in what it did for like character development and progression, balancing kind of action and like meaningful stuff with humor. I thought like we got to know like our villains in like Baylan, Skoll, and Ray Stevenson is a very interesting and like captivating villain, and while still being very formidable and scary. And I think for me overall, this was at least a good breath I could let out about where this series is going, because this is the midpoint, of course. There are 8 episodes to this, and so like we're halfway, right? And I think last week we were saying, I think in our last recap, I was like, by episode 4, they need somebody to be jumping through a gate or gate piece stolen or something happening, and we got all that and more. So I was eating this episode, but my bias is clear. Let's jump to the other side of the spectrum. Janelle Wheeler, what did you think of Ahsoka episode 4?
Oh, man. Guys, I said it last time. I can't remember if I said it on the main podcast or the bonus show, but I was saying something like this could be like my favorite Disney Plus Star Wars anything. And it just continues to prove that to me. And I actually looked up all the shows because there have been a ton of more releases on Disney Plus than you would even think.
Right.
Like when you really actually think about it, you're like, wow, there are a lot of projects that came through, and like the standouts for me have been Andor and Ahsoka. So on that same vein, it feels so good to see Jedi, like to see people be able to like move things with their mind, and the lightsabers, like Andor, we didn't get that. Mando, we don't get that. Like, I feel like we didn't even get Obi-Wan, like any, like this is like action packed. This is live action, like bliss for people who love the Jedi things. The fighting was amazing. I feel like it's absolutely stunning. The show is, to me, one of the most beautiful scenes. Like all of these beautiful scenes they're showing, and like the land and the ships. just everything about this, I am just raving. I'm all about it, and this episode was spectacular, even with me not having any idea, and we'll talk about this I'm sure later on in the show, but I don't know the connection with her and Anakin. But even not knowing that, I felt emotionally moved by it. So I hope everyone else felt that too.
I mean, I just want a quick shout out in the comments over on Facebook. Nick Turner said the writing's predictable. If you knew where this episode was going to end, I got a casino I want you to come with me to, like this weekend, because I'll need you at my roulette table, because if you're saying the writing's predictable and you knew where this was going to go by the end,
well, we all knew they'd go through the gate, but like with who and how it happened, I did not see that at all.
There's twists in this episode I don't think anybody saw. I don't think anybody saw people switch his sides. I don't think anybody saw where Ahsoka would end up. Like, come on, man. Anyway, we're taking up Matt's time. Yeah, let's get to Matt, and then we can really dig in.
No, I was enjoying the discourse. No, I agree with you both. I think you bring up a lot of good points, and I was so disappointed, but that shows you how invested I am, right? Because I was disappointed in Sabine's choice, right? I thought right up until the last minute, I thought, oh, she's gonna destroy it herself. She's gonna do something. She's gonna do it, and then they just she drops it. And my soul was crushed. I
thought for sure someone was gonna get in there and mix it up.
So I was just, I was disappointed, but again, that I was invested, and I was. I was like, oh, don't do that. I felt so much. And that's a credit also to, Ray Stevenson. Baylan is, he shines in this episode throughout the entire episode. And he's very convincing. You can understand why someone, especially who is as torn as she is about Ezra and everything, would just, okay. You know what I mean? Like you can understand it. It still makes it disappointing. But again, I was invested the whole way through. I want to see where this goes. It was nice to see Hera back in things. And so I agree with Janelle wholeheartedly. This show is gorgeous. Like this is stunning. Also, I want to shout out, I think it's Sir Glean. It was awesome to see a droid fight. Droid fight.
Yeah, droid's getting it in. If the internet
crazy.
Is not memeing, we need that memed right now. Like droid's getting it in. Like, that was.
I was ready for Tenet to grab a lightsaber.
We've seen a lot of Star Wars. Yeah, people saying, this isn't predictable. Like we've seen a lot of Star Wars. We have not seen droids get it in. I mean, we've seen Chopper and R2 throw down. If you read the comics, you've seen some killer droids throw down, but like straight up just scrapping it, doing a fair one, 2 droids, like having a fair one. Yeah, that was great.
And the thing,
Huyang, just with the headbutt and man, they
were actually
great.
Throwing, you know what I mean? They were actually throwing punches, and it was great to see. I will also say, we'll talk about it here, obviously, in a minute. The big, I've already seen it mentioned in the comments, the pseudo fake out of, hey, this is a big deal, and then it's not a big deal.
Good old Ralph Boner.
But it's one of those things that I loved about Last Jedi, establishing that not, Rey's parents were no big, they weren't supposed to be anyway, until I kind of the next movie I get a little pissy about, because that I don't feel like that was the direction it was supposed to go. But the whole thing in Last Jedi of Rey's parents were not anyone in particular. They were just parents. I loved that idea. And then, go screw it up and add Palpatine into the mix, whatever. But that idea of that, I love. So the fact that it, that was kind of a fake out, I'm kind of okay with. You know what I mean? I'm cool with that if it feeds into that. Also, we don't know. They could bring that around and maybe that's something else, But
wait, I'm lost. You 3-card modded me right there. Which part are you talking about? Which fake out? We can get into it now.
I was trying to leave it vague so that you could set it up for a minute. But essentially the because that was the assassin masked person, right? That Ahsoka was fighting, right? Yeah.
Marrok,
and then it's just I don't know what gas spirit. I don't know what.
There are gaseous beings in Star Wars. There are some races that are gaseous beings in suits. things
That's
like that. But
cool.
like, I don't know exactly how they're going to explain this. That is not my job. This Marrok thing is that's for Star Wars TikTok and the showrunners to figure out, man. Like, I'm not getting into that. I thought it was funny because I was just like, I've already tweeted like it was Ralph Boner. Like, it's just enough of a Ralph Boner moment where we all had these crazy theories about Star Killer or Ezra, and then it's just like literally just like a fart, like out of a bag. Like, yeah, it's just like, there you go, internet. That's what you believe. Sometimes it feels like we're getting trolled here, but it's okay. Like, nobody did that to us. He showed up in 2 scenes, and I hope Marrok becomes the new Boba Fett of Star Wars, like Justice for Marrok shirts. I hope everybody thinks. I want to see like a Tales of the Jedi 3-part episode about how he got where he got and find out something crazy about him, like when he was just a young piece of steam or whatever. Like, yeah, I want to know. I want to, Justice for Marrok.
He was a young piece of steam.
You all right? I think we broke Matt. You all right?
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, I mean, we did that to ourselves. So
We
I
always
do have a
do.
good. I know. I mean, but I pulled back. I realized what we were doing a couple episodes ago. And I was like, yo, man. I mean, I think I even put it in the last one. I was like, is this going to really turn out to be something, or are we? Or no, it was in the regular episode on Friday. I was like, is this going to turn out to be something, or are we all just? Because we were going into Sam Witwer, like the whole rabbit hole with that and what his voice meant. And then, I think it was Matt. You were like, bro just does everything for Filoni. Like, he'll just drop a voice here. So it doesn't mean anything and didn't mean anything. So there we go. So let's go down our rundown agenda so we can be efficient and get on out of here. Did you guys think this was a big enough game changer for the midpoint in the series? Were you guys happy with that? Are you still happy with the pace of the show?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if it's like a game changer. I don't know if that's how I'd put it, but I don't need a game changer. Just keep building upon this and keep going with it. Because
here's the thing. I think it is a game changer in the sense that I don't know if people are really, if you have not watched Star Wars animation, I don't know if you're prepared for how weird this is about to get, right?
Okay.
Now, if you've seen things like the Clone Wars Mortis arc where they kind of met the 3 embodiments of the Force in these mystical beings, like the father, the daughter, and the son. The daughter's the light side, the son was the dark side, and the father was the balance between the two. Like, there's a whole thing where Anakin and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka got stuck there, and Anakin kind of learned about how he would be lured to the dark side and even saw visions of himself as Vader. He couldn't handle it, so he kind of like passed out. But anyway, the world between worlds, let's talk about the ending. So the ending, Ahsoka wakes up in this place. It looks very much like the world between worlds as envisioned in live action, as we kind of saw it in animation, which is now kind of being almost like a purgatory. I don't know what they're doing, if this is real Anakin or her kind of vision of him or whatever they're going to explain it. But we about to get magical. We gonna get metaphysical. So yeah, it's gonna get nuts. Like, we're gonna be into some real deep Star Wars Eastern philosophy tinged, like metaphysical.
I love that
craziness, and I really don't know. Meanwhile, the other half of the show is going possibly to other galaxies. We don't know what these galaxies are. I've seen people tweeting, like Brandon Davis, Phase Zero host. Like, I hope we don't get into some more multiverse craziness. We don't need to do that. Like, I hope this new galaxy is just new stuff. I've heard all kinds of theories people have that we could be getting stuff from Star Wars Legends, which is like, what is that? I forget, this alien race that they fought a whole war against. Starts with a Y. Anyway, so they were beings who came from the outer regions beyond known space. And yeah, the Yuzhan Vong. Or no,
right
I think that. Yeah, right. Yeah, the Yuzhan Vong War. Okay, so the Yuzhan Vong were these crazy, the chosen race. Yeah, the chosen race. They were people from outside the known regions of the known galaxy as we know it. And they're a huge arc in Star Wars Legends because they fought a massive war against these beings from this other galaxy. And that had a lot to do with like Jason Solo and the whole kind of that arc of them becoming Jedi and dark side. So there was a whole thing. There was a whole thing with Boba Fett and his role. He became a general in all this, I believe, in fighting this war and like led Mandalorians and did all this stuff. It got nuts. So people are theorizing that, like Thrawn, who was also pulled from the same kind of EU, that we could be getting this race, and that's what's beyond the galaxy. I think that would be interesting because that would at least kind of, that's a thing you can do with Thrawn. Like, who is Thrawn and why is he coming back and what's he bringing with him as a threat? If he brings like an entire army of weird, crazy, like savages from outside the galaxy, it's a thing you can actually like bottleneck and finish up and say, like, by the time this was over, they banished all those people or killed them and sent them all or whatever, got them all back to the other galaxy. And so they were out. And so by the time that was over, and the First Order rise, like people, this was self-contained enough. You know what I mean? Anyway, I gave you guys a link in the private chat so you guys can actually see what the hell I'm talking about instead of, I know Janelle's brain's glazing over. Like, I'm
definitely. I'm like, I don't know. I thought she died and she was in like, you know, purgatory or something and saw a vision.
That's what I'm saying. That's Ahsoka. She's going to like, that's what I'm trying to say here. And I guess I failed. So let me just boil it down again. One half of the show is going to be Ahsoka in metaphysical land. The other half of the show is going to be Sabine Wren out in unknown space, seeing God knows what is out there. Now, these things can converge because obviously the world between worlds, and yes, Nick Turner, you might be predictable here, is the world between worlds theoretically can take you anywhere across time and space. So Ahsoka can literally walk out of a doorway and be where she needs to be. The plot armor, I feel like that will happen
sooner than later.
Yeah, I mean, that plot armor already happened because she's only alive because Ezra pulled her out right before Darth Vader cut her head off and pulled her, and then like it was this weird time loop because like he last saw her fighting like seasons ago, and then like in season 2, and then he like pulls her out of there in season 4 when he's older. And she's like, whoa, what happened? And she experiences that kind of time travel, quote unquote, that way, because older Ezra saves her from that moment where she would have been wiped out by Vader. And that's why she's still alive now. Anyway, so this could all get really weird. So both halves of this show could be potentially really weird and nothing we know of Star Wars. Like typically the most people know. And I can't wait to see people lose their minds and be out here on the internet getting it in, fighting over Star Wars in the next few weeks.
I mean, they're already doing that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's it's. Yeah. I will say
this is in the realm of typical Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is we are on both sides of the show about to go into some very extreme places.
But what I think they did a good job in is I don't really think you needed to know any of that. I thought they did a good job of conveying the message. Like, as Janelle was kind of alluding to, right? The purgatory thing, like, yes, it has a deeper meaning, and they'll probably do I've learned to not underestimate them anymore as far as like onboarding. They do a pretty good job of that. Like Star Wars actually does a pretty good job of like condensing an idea down into something that people who haven't binged other stuff can grab onto, like the basic elements, right? So I think they'll do. I mean, obviously, we've already seen a little bit of that here. I'm familiar with some of that, so like I came in going, oh, okay, I know what that is. I don't know where we're gonna go from here. It looks a little weird, like it was like different stuff, but like okay, I have that. But I think they did a good job of like anyone who's kind of seen that stories that kind of take things to that plane where you're seeing people from the past or dead people or whatever, that idea. I thought they did a good job of kind of conveying that as a hook. So I thought it was really good. I think they've done a really good job. We should talk about overall real quick, because we started out this show talking about like Clone Wars and Rebels, and like if you're not into that stuff or you haven't watched that stuff, you're gonna kind of feel left behind or maybe not get stuff. I think they've actually done a very good job of planting enough information, contextual stuff to let you enjoy this story on its own. And if you know that stuff, you're getting like 10 times more out of it. But I think they've done a really good job of bringing people on. Like, I feel like a lot of the things of, I'm completely lost, or this show is only for people that, I think that's very, simplistic, and I think that's very like making a bunch of assumptions right off the bat. It's a very knee-jerk reaction.
No,
I think as things have played out, it's not done that. I think they've done a good job.
No, I think it's funny because of the synchronicity between this and One Piece, which is, I think both of these are live action shows, the Netflix One Piece, which we just also did an awesome bonus episode for.
Great show.
Yeah, but it's a show. I think both of these are shows that onboard you well enough and are entertaining enough to make you want to go back and watch that stuff. This has been the best thing to ever happen to Rebels. People who have never watched Rebels, people who I've been tried to convince, my own brothers, like, will call me and be like, all right, I'm gonna do it. All right, I'm gonna do it. Just like give me the ones I gotta really watch. And I'm like, oh, I got you. I mean, there's a million of those. We got you. This ain't One Piece. It was 4 seasons. I can get you through pretty quick to all the really great stuff. And people are realizing, like, yeah, when Rebels hit, like, that really hit in some of the best Star Wars moments, like, you're gonna see. So I think I think it is simplistic. I think you can get into this and then go back later and see Rebels and then even watch this again and be like, oh, now I get it even more. Like, I like it. We got to wrap up soon. But how did you guys, let's get to the big thing. How did you guys feel about the cameo at the end? Some people are out here already wild and like putting up a picture of a de-aged Yoda or something like that. You can see that on my Twitter feed. And it's so, you guys are so wrong in Star Wars, man. But I didn't care. I mean, it's interesting the look of Anakin in this scene because, you know, the last time we saw him in the DH was that scene in Obi-Wan, which is still, you know, I think a pretty impressive scene, that flashback.
I love that whole sequence.
And how I love that whole episode. People crap on Obi-Wan, but that episode was great. Like when they're in the base and they're trying to outwit Vader and get away, and it's like flashbacks to the duel, and he's always telling Anakin about his aggression, and that's how he uses it against Vader to get out of there. But that looked pretty cool. But I think the look says something, and I'm kind of curious about where they take it because it's a very specific kind of time. It really does look like we're seeing like Revenge of the Sith Anakin, like as if he didn't turn, if what he would look like again about that age. So I don't know.
Oh, that's emotional.
I'm kind of curious.
Right.
Yeah. And, you know, people are freaking out because he said, hey, Snips, which is like the first time we've ever heard that. And that was his nickname for Ahsoka when she was like a plucky young Padawan, because of she was like so mouthy and kind of like, you know, she was very outspoken and feisty. And he called her
Snips so
Snips.
much. God, I love her.
And like, yeah. And yeah, I'm really interested to see, you know, we all are going to be, I know 9:00 on Tuesday with Central Time or 6 p.m. Pacific Time next week. People are going to be front row and center getting ready for this one because
on time.
Yeah, it's going to be an emotional reunion, and there's so much that, I mean, for people who aren't even deep into this and didn't watch Clone Wars, they didn't see the resolution of that. There is so much because Ahsoka and Anakin's, because of, I mean, you know, canon made it, but like their relationship was so deep and strong, and then it got fractured so quickly when this incident happened, where she got framed for a terrorist attack on the Jedi Temple, and because everyone doubted her, and even Anakin proved her innocence, but she just was like, she saw early, she was like, we've messed up as an order, like choosing this war, choosing the Republic. That's like not what Jedi are supposed to be. We're not supposed to be generals, and we're not supposed to be choosing war sides and influencing politics and doing all that. And that's why she walked away, and they never got to have any resolution because like right when she walked away and she came back briefly and saw him, that she went on a mission to Mandalore and helped Bo-Katan stop Darth Maul and save Mandalore. And on her way back, even when she was thinking of talking to Anakin and figuring things out, that's when he flipped out and killed everybody, and Order 66 happened, and she barely got away. And she had to kill a lot of her own soldiers and get off that ship with Darth Maul and Captain Rex, and they never got to have any resolution, like whatsoever. And she saw Vader once during the Rebels era, but like when he died, that was it, right? In Return of the Jedi. So it's going to be nuts. And that scene is going to be one of the biggest ones, pivotal ones in Star Wars, you know. And if most of next episode is just that scene of them doing stuff together, like I'll be there for it. So it's going to be nuts. I know you guys probably don't care about that as much as I do, but
I mean, I care. I'm just excited. I love what Fair said in the chat that, like, you know, obviously it's her master is gone and them reuniting is so good because we get to see the redeemed Vader. That's such a cool. Can we have like a redeemed Vader pop figure, please? That'd be great.
Yeah, no, and yeah, that perspective is I hope Hayden Christensen gets to cook and like talk. We've never really heard him talk as Anakin post Vader.
Yeah.
What does he feel like? How does he look
Guys,
at it? Ooh, I can't wait. Man, we got to shut this thing down. Let's get to episode 5.
Okay,
come back for the No, you go, Jay. You take
well,
it.
I just something exciting is I'm going to be where they filmed the scenes for his like my favorite scenes of like he and oh my god, Padme falling in love in Lake Como. I'm going there.
Oh, what? That's awesome.
So I'm gonna like try to reenact it.
Yeah, please. We need something for the feeds. Give us a good reenactment.
I'll take pictures. We'll post it.
I mean, I know your hubby will be a good. Get him. I mean, you got to get him. Is he working on his braid, his Padawan braid?
Yeah.
You gotta
Clip on.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Yes. I'm sorry, A. I'm sorry, A. I'm just out here.
That'd be great.
On that note, we got to get out of here. This has been our recap of Ahsoka episode 4. This is Comic Book Nation. If you're just coming for the recap of this show, be sure to subscribe on YouTube. It's youtube.com/comicbook, all one word -nation. And we are also on Twitch on the comic book page. Again, one word, twitch.tv/comicbook. And you can find our work on comicbook.com, including everything we'll be writing about this episode of Ahsoka, what we think the future of the series holds, and all that good stuff. And be sure to subscribe to Comic Book Nation, your favorite platforms, your podcast platforms, because we will be back Friday with our regular live episode. Longer, stronger, whole crew will be here. Be sure to tune in for that. If you want to talk to us, you can find me at Kofi Outlaw.
You can find me at Matt Aguilar CB.
You can find me at Janelle Wheeler.
Thank you guys for tuning in. This is Comic Book Nation. Have a good rest of the week. We'll see you out there. Peace.
This is